It seems that Yoshi and the Deadlock developer team have had enough of our high-speed antics around the cursed apple, so they've put up new speed limit signs. They're slowing down traffic with this new movement nerf patch. Hey everyone, this is Connor here at Dead Unlocked. I'm excited. I was toying with that intro for so long. Still feels cringe to talk about it like that, but this patch is definitely a movement nerf patch, but there's a lot else to it. So like I do with patch notes, I'm going to break down my 5 biggest takeaways from this patch. Let's get right into it. All right, so number 1, we'll start with all of the movement stuff. So everything we're going to look at here, I think, is actually getting to a point where devs just don't want players to be able to rotate around the map as quickly, so they're targeting every way of doing that possible through 3 things: move speed, sprint speed, and then through items like Majestic Leap. So all those things are hit pretty hard here. Obviously, as you can see as well, as a base, move speed bonus is now stacked diminishingly, and then you have all of these move speed values on items that are all reduced. So these are all nerfed, basically your ability to just move quickly around. And then the same thing happens to sprint value on items. All of these sprint value items are all reduced here as well. And then you have a couple other stats that are really heavily reduced here. Also, just base sprint speed is reduced by 0.4. You also have slow resist reduced in a couple categories, and then 2 hits to Majestic Leap in particular. And I actually think it's important that Majestic Leap is lumped into this, not only because I think that item just needed to be nerfed. I think it's just a very good item. When that item is that much of a must-buy on that number of heroes, there's probably something wrong with it. I think there is. I think the cooldown is a good increase, a good place to start. But what that item does, what all of these things do, is they allow you, obviously, to get your character from point A to point B faster. Meaning that if you can move faster, you can be more out of position and kind of compensate for it with things like move and sprint speed. That gets you back into position quicker. And so what I think devs are actually after here with this whole top section is they want to tell players, hey, you need to make sure you're paying attention to where you're at on the map. This is still a MOBA. Macro does matter and positioning does still matter significantly. It's not all just deathball and team fights. Be in the right place, understand it, and this will punish players for being out of position more. Time will tell if I actually like how this plays out. I've seen a lot of negativity right away. No one's gonna like feeling slower, feeling handicapped as far as a movement perspective goes, but we have to remember this is an alpha game, and we're still taking big swings as far as how we're going to approach things like movement around the map and positioning rotations, and devs might just want them to be a little bit more punishing. So that's kind of a long answer of how I see at least all the movement stuff panning out in this and why it was intended, but again, time will tell as we play more in this patch. And going on to number 2 here, we've got the new Urn, the Giga Urn, as I think I'm going to start calling it, because it now gives you more if you're the one carrying it, you're stronger if you're carrying it, and it's going to give you more souls all the time, as well as comeback souls also giving you more. So the Urn bounty was increased from 700 plus 230 every minute to 1300 plus 230 every minute. Like I said, the comeback bounty now gives you more souls. Bullet and spirit resist for the carrier increased from 30% to 50%. So you're now much stronger carrying the Urn. And the bonus bounty for the carrier has been increased from 25% to 35%. So basically, pair that with what we just looked at, right? We just looked at number 1, how rotating around the map is going to be more challenging and demand more positioning wise of the player. And now we've also just made the objective that requires really good cross-map positioning. We've just made that a lot better. So again, this just tells me so much of this patch is telling players start to pay attention to where you're being positioned on the map, because if you are out of position, it is going to feel way worse to try and get there for the new really important Urn fights. So Urns are going to be much better now. They already were really valuable in high level play. This makes them even better. So if you're watching something like a Deadlock Night Shift, expect a lot more really contested Urn fights. I think this will come out when there's going to be a Night Shift tomorrow, so that'll be really interesting to watch. But especially in my like Oracle games or Archon games, wherever I am these days, Urn is going to be, I think, much more fought over now and thought of, I think, as important as like a mid almost. Like, I mean, obviously it's still much less valuable and a different kind of objective, right? But I think players, there will be a lot more team fights happening at the Urn and allow for a lot more split pushing on the opposite side of the map. Should make for some really interesting interplay there. All right, coming in at number 3, just like we kind of have the Giga Urn now, we kind of have Giga Shrines. So shrines are way more valuable to get now and much more, kind of an important late game objective. It felt like previous, you just kind of got shrines before downing patron. It was kind of just all in this same phase, and it really didn't mean a whole lot to do it. Now it means a lot more. So as you know, and kind of as it makes sense, shrines now have a ton more health as well. So shrines health goes up from 3,000 to 7,000. Killing both enemy shrines will now make all your troopers stronger, plus 30% HP and 30% damage. and the Walker rocket barrage radius reduced from 6 meters to 5 meters. That's a totally separate thing. I don't even know why I read it. But these 2 points I think are really important. This is going to change the way you go after shrines. I think it should at least make it much more important and much more of a viable option to get both shrines. Maybe even if it like takes you a lot to get those, maybe like you lose people in a fight to get the 2 shrines and you don't get patron. This should make that sacrifice a little bit more worthwhile. Again, just kind of demanding more pressure points on the map. Like we're putting more emphasis on these things that are hard to get to on the map, that then when you get them, there's a lot more reward that goes along with it. I think this fits in with the overall strategy or kind of idea of this patch, which is that kind of map strategy, movement strategy, all that. So shrines a lot more stronger, and are going to give you a lot better benefits to getting them now. All right, number 4 comes from the spirit section right here, kind of in the middle of the patch notes. I feel like there's actually some really important nuggets here. Namely, the spirit investment tree 4.8k bonus has been reduced from 45 to 38. And then you have some other things kind of in this section as well that kind of go along with that. Things like surge of power and mutability, spirit reduced from 28 to 24, rapid recharge gets a nerf, crippling headshot gets a nerf, right focus lens gets a nerf. So there's things having to do with kind of the spirit family that are getting affected here, especially when you get to that threshold. I think a lot of it was just punishing players that are rushing that 4.8k spirit and then able to do insane amounts of burst damage. Probably a little bit more than developers had in mind. I still like the 4.8k system. They do some other things with it as well up in this section, but I think this is probably a good change, tuning that back a bit. I hope this doesn't just nerf spirit out of the early and mid game. I don't think it will, but this certainly should affect that part of it at the very least. Quickly, some honorable mentions here. There's a lot about neutral camps here. Some of it is kind of getting into the weeds, but basically how you go about getting these camps, the strength they have, and then basically the way that some of those unsecured souls process has all been changed. That's all right there. You can take a look at it. This one I'm just gonna have to play to see how I feel about. Honestly, it's hard to make sense of how some of that will practically feel. But number 5, I do want to talk about all of the, or at least highlight some of the heroes that are being affected. It feels like lately, if you're on a deadlock balance patch and you're a hero, you're not loving your life, and I think that's kind of the case here. In particular, we see Billy get a pretty heavy-handed nerf here. This one was good. I felt like Billy for a long time. There's 2 heroes I really wanted to get nerfed, Billy and Mirage, and they both did, so it's really good to see. Geist also was a little too strong as well, so Billy gets hit pretty hard though. Health regen reduced. His blasted ability in particular gets really hurt. Mirage gets just a lot of different nerfs, honestly, and I feel like there was a really good take I saw on, I forget whose channel it was, basically saying Mirage is one of the only characters that's good in all phases of the game, or at least was up until this point. I think that's pretty arguably the case, and very S-tier hero. So if you're Billy, Dynamo, Geist, Mirage, Shiv, Vindicta, or Wraith, probably not loving your life as much as you were previous. It'll be interesting to see how harsh these nerfs actually are and what heroes they kind of bring to the forefront. This is going to be one that, again, just kind of take some more days to kind of play out, see how we feel about it. But overall, like I said, I have not had a chance. I've had some other work today and just got home and wanted to make this as fast as possible, but I haven't had a chance to play on this yet. So if you have had some time to play some games, let me know in the comments kind of what your thoughts are on this right away. I think we need to try to avoid just the frustration of feeling slower and try to see the bigger picture of why am I moving slower? Why do devs want us to be able to rotate a little bit slower? Can I get used to this new pace of the game and feel comfortable with it? So that's what I would say would be my challenge to kind of take a look at. But yeah, otherwise, let me know what you all are thinking about this patch. And as always, thank you all so much for tuning in. From our house to yours, we'll see you all next time here at Dead Unlocked.